Okay, so value judgments in Spanish. In this video, I'm going to use the present subjunctive, but you could use other subjunctives with it, other moods of subjunctive with it. It could be imperfect or pluperfect subjunctive, but just for the basis of introducing value judgments, I've used the present subjunctive. So what types of values do we have? So generally it's a personal opinion, and they are impersonal expressions. So we've got S plus either an adjective or a noun, and then que. As I said at the beginning, we're just using the present subjunctive here, but obviously some of these triggers could be in other tenses that would then lead to a different part of the subjunctive. Sometimes it depends on usage. So if it's certain, if what you're trying to say is certain, then we don't use the subjunctive. If it's an emotional reaction, i.e. it's your personal opinion of something, but that may differ from other people's, then this is when we would use the subjunctive. Now, there's a list here. It's by no means exhaustive, but it'll give you some ideas of what sorts of things we're talking about here and that you can use. So, es imposible que, that gives us a doubt. Es una lástima, una pena que. My students often ask which can I use, and I say they're both you can use them both indiscriminately, so they both mean the same things. Es terrible que. Es una tontería que. Es común que. This one in particular is quite an odd one, because actually if you are saying it's common that could be that it's from facts and data that you've found, so that would actually be the indicative. But if you're saying it's common that people go on holiday to Spain and yet actually that's not true, or that's just your opinion, then this is when we'd use a subjunctive. Es importante que. Es interesante que. Es aconsejable que. Es raro que. Es bueno que. Es malo que. And es una locura que. Okay, so after all of these are triggers for the subjunctive if it's an emotional reaction that you're having for whatever you're talking about. Okay, so how do we use the present subjunctive? Now, I haven't gone into a great amount of detail here because there is another video on the present subjunctive or subjunctive mood, but just to recap, so first of all, we take the I form in the present tense, which ends in O. Then we remove the O, and this forms the stem or the root part of the verb. And the reason we do that is that it gives us mostly irregular ones. So if I give you an example, tener, for example, in the I form goes to tengo. So we remove the O, and then we get our stem, which is teng. Okay. And then we add the endings. So if it's an AI verb, it's ese, hemos, es, and n. And if it's eo and ir, as, amos, is, and an. And I tell my students that if you know the present tense really well, the normal present tense, then it's basically just swapping around apart from the I forms. Some irregulars, obviously. Ser, sea, seas, sea, seamos, seáis, and sean. And ia, vaya, vayas, vaya, vayamos, vayáis, and vayan. And haber, haya, hayas, haya, hayamos, hayáis, hayan. Okay. So that's the formation. If you need to know more, have a look at my other video. So let's do a bit of practice with these value judgments. So let's have a look at some examples first before we get into the practice. It's impossible for me to travel to Spain. I haven't put to Spain, but I'll put that in later. Es imposible que viaje a España. So literally we're saying it's impossible that I travel to Spain. Okay. You could say es imposible para mí de viajar a España. Obviously the Spanish people don't sit there thinking, oh, I haven't put a subjunctive here. Or trying to form it so that it has the subjunctive. So there are other ways around it, but this is what we'd use if we're using it for a value judgment plus a subjunctive. It's common for many people to go abroad. Again, this is my judgment, it's my personal reaction. It could be that it's not true, but from my point of view, this is what I'm saying. So that's why I'm using subjunctive. Es común que mucha gente vaya al extranjero. It's advisable that you stay at home. I don't know why I put to stay at home. I need to go through this. Es aconsejable que te quedes en casa. It's a shame that we won't be able to go there this year. Es una pena que no podamos ir allí este año. It's worth noting that podamos, poder, and all radical changing verbs also radical change in the same way as they do in the present tense. So the I, you, he, she, and it forms and the they forms, but not the we and not the you plural. Okay, so even though I said at the beginning we form the subjunctive by taking the I form and removing the O, When it's a radical changing verb, you then don't radical change when you do the we and the you plural. So just have a little look at that. I have got a video on radical changing verbs if you need to have a go through those. So that's just basically what I've just said. It's terrible that there's so much poverty in the world. Es terrible que haya tanta pobreza en el mundo. It's a really good one to learn. That haya comes from I, and that's a really nice verb to be able to manipulate into different tenses. Okay, so practice. Have a little look through these, see what you think, have a go, pause the video, and then we'll go over the answers. Okay, so the first one, es una pena o una lástima que el mundo no tome en serio el cambio climático. Es interesante que el gobierno haga o esté haciendo más para ayudar. I've put is doing here because obviously it's sort of the continuous tense, but we can use the present, or we can use a continuous present continuous to do that. In the normal present indicative, but when we're using subjunctive, we obviously can do the same sorts of things, all right? It's common for people to donate money at Christmas. Es común que la gente done o las personas donen dinero durante Navidad. Careful gente, remember gente takes the he, she, and it form of the verb, so it's what we call a singular collective. Es aconsejable que él, I put L in brackets in case it's ambiguous, but we don't necessarily need it there if it isn't. Vea a su profesor. Remember, we've got verb plus a plus person here as well, so it's personal a. Again, there's a video on personal a if you're not sure about how that works. Es raro que los políticos quieran cambiar la política. So again, there's an example here of how we use radical changing verbs. It's still radical changes in the present subjunctive in the they form. Es bueno que el oeste ayude a los países pobres. Es malo que los niños mueren en los países del tercer mundo cuando hay a menudo curas baratas. Again, another example of the radical changing here. Es terrible que la gente viva todavía en las calles. You could have put personas, que las personas vivan todavía en las calles. Es una locura que tenga que pagar para aprender. And the last one, es imposible que cambie mis hábitos. Okay, if you need to have a go through it again, go back through the video. Otherwise, have a look at my present subjunctive one.